back to the Dr. Bomber channel. So, well, for those of you who have seen my previous video on replacing the Noctua cooler, I replaced one single tower Noctua cooler for another one, also single tower Noctua cooler, but a bit different model, and we had a look at if there were any gains to be had of doing so. And I recommend you to watch that video to see what we did and the results. But a long story short, as you might expect, going from one single tower to another single tower Noctua cooler of about the same weight didn't give any extraordinary improvements as far as temperature goes. But nevertheless, I've been running this cooler now for a while, and yeah, it has worked fine. As you might remember, we had a bit of an issue with the temperatures, and previously, during a 100% load scenario at about 4.3 gigahertz, we were at previously we were at 4.2, I believe, when changing the cooler perhaps, but the voltage was pretty much the same, I believe, and we had a full load temperature on the CPU of about 88 to 91 degrees Celsius. Well, and today it's been quite warm in this room, and we can see that we're up to 94.5, highest 95.4 degrees. So that's quite a lot for even for a full load scenario. But okay, this room has been the door was closed for a while, and even though it's winter here now, the sun did appear, and even though I had my window blinds closed, it still meant that it got quite hot in here. So let's have a look at my thermometer, which says, let's see here, 28 point. Oh, let me try to align this. Yeah, 28.9 degrees Celsius. It was just about 30 degrees when I entered this room before I opened the door. And we also have a very dry air, so 16% humidity. Yeah, let that sit there. So, what to do about that? Well, I have actually bought a new Noctua cooler, and this time it is the Noctua NH-D15. And yeah, it's based off of the D14 cooler. So this is pretty much Noctua's beast, and it probably doesn't need an introduction. I guess most of you know about the Noctua NH-D15, and I bought it as a returned sample. So it's new, but the box had been opened and the box was a bit damaged. But I thought that, okay, why not? I got it a bit cheaper than full price, so in US dollars equivalent, I suppose it was around $77, including shipping. So yeah, my idea and plan for this video is to once again replace the CPU cooler here. The single tower one for the dual tower NH-D15, and see what kind of results we get from that. So follow along as we replace the cooler. Okay, so let's start opening this and see if we got everything that needs to be here, since this has been open boxed item. So first we have the accessories kit, and this one, the NH-D15, should support the FM2 Plus socket, which is the one that my test bench is running with the 7850K CPU. So it looks pretty. Yeah, these bags have not been opened. We have the manual, it seems. We have the thermal paste, and Y splitter for the fans, and a noise adapter. We got the Noctua included screwdriver, and some bits and pieces needed for the installation. So yeah, I don't know if my current mounting brackets for the cooler that is on right now will work, or if I have to unscrew the motherboard from the test bench, but that's not a big issue if we have to. So this is a good start, that we have all of this. I'll put this aside for now. We have an NF A15 PWM fan. Looks to be in mint condition. So this is obviously completely new in box. And then we have a box inside the box. So nothing more here. Let's put that aside. Here is the base plate, and it looks fine to me. So it actually opens like this. Maybe, or I have to open this as well. Pretty cool box, actually. Yes. We still have the cover for the base plate here. We can of course remove it and have a look. Yeah, it looks pretty perfect. Some protective cover. And then in the middle here we have the second fan. So, I wonder if we could put on a third fan then to blow air. Yeah, maybe. But do we have any extra brackets for it? I don't know, we shall check that later, but we'll start off as it is first. So maybe I can reuse some brackets otherwise. So yeah. Okay, great. And this is, it has some weight to it. Let's do a weigh in. So I shall remove this middle fan. And it says, see here, 966 grams. So that's pretty much 1 kilo, or 2 pounds and 2.1 ounces. Okay. So the next step here is to unmount the old cooler and yeah, maybe compare the weights first. So let's do that. Okay, I will start off by turning off the power supply with the breaker here, and with the relay, and we shall uninstall this cooler. So let me start off by removing the fans. It should be an easy enough process. Just getting them out of the way here, and I already have a Y splitter here, so I will 4 pins, yeah. So I will just try to didn't want to. Yep. So the first one is free, and the second one. All right. So now let's undo these screws. And I can actually use the supplied Noctua screwdriver for that. And I'm thinking that if the NH-D15 works well, then I can sell this one on auction or something, and online, and then the investment has been a lot smaller for the NH-D15 purchase. So let's inspect it. So we have a little bit of an area here where the thermal paste didn't squeeze out, and we can see it here on the CPU as well. Let me just refocus and maybe zoom in a bit. So over here, but overall the coverage was decent, and I shall clean this up. So one moment. I've got my isopropyl alcohol, and let's use some of that. We can see that we're getting a lot of the thermal paste off. And then let's also clean this base plate. And I hope that I can get about maybe $25 US equivalent plus shipping for this cooler, the single tower one. Okay, we're pretty clean. So now let's have a look here. First of all, these brackets, I don't think that they are compatible with the NH-D15, because if we have a look at the NH-D15 here, the brackets to fasten it are turned the other way around. So I would have to place it this way around to get it to, in best case, fit. And I'm not sure it will anyway. And this isn't the orientation that I would like it to have. I want it to be something like this. So I have to use the other brackets included with the NH-D15. And the question is then, can I reuse, if I just unscrew these metal brackets, can I reuse the backplate and the plastic standoffs? Let's have a look in the manual. So I actually ran into the first bit of problem here. So it seems that some things are actually missing from the accessories kit for this cooler. It seems that I have, the stock AMD backplate I have already installed in the motherboard. These mounting bars, I believe those are in here, so that's good. And then there should be two different types, gray and white spacers. And in this bag I only have the black ones, or the gray ones, and they are for AM4, and I am using FM2 Plus on this test bench. And also I'm missing the ALS1 screws. So that's not good. However, I will of course file a claim to the auction site where I bought the NH-D15 because it should have everything included. But on the positive note here, I do have hopefully the same white spacers and screws here. So maybe I can reuse these ones. I believe they are the same. They should be, I suppose. So we'll go with that, and hopefully they will fit. So yeah, let's continue. So I also found some extra screws from another old Noctua cooler kit. But let's start by unmounting, unscrewing these screws. I can see that the back plate here might not be held in place if I unscrew everything at the same time, so I will just try to keep it like this for a while. Okay, so I shall just compare. So I don't know which screws to use then, but we'll try these ones and we'll see. So yeah, I should grab the bag of brackets. And we need the AMB A10. I believe these are the shorter ones. And then they should go like this. So, according to, let's see here, the manual for FM2 Plus socket, I should use the holes numbered with the number 3. And yeah, so we have some numbers here. So the lower hole here is number 3, and then we have 4. So we should use number 3, and they should be directed in this direction with the bow inwards towards the CPU. So let's place it. Currently just so that the back plate won't fall off. I have to push it from beneath, and Hopefully these screws will work. Right. And then undo. Oh, sorry if the camera is out of focusing. Yeah, I need the bracket as well, of course. So let's okay, and I will push the back plate from under here. From beneath the motherboard. Yeah, and these screws, they have a, you can feel that they stop when you're done, so it should be okay. Alright, so we have the bracket on, so we will use the thermal paste that was supplied, I think. Oh, and actually I can see the extra fan mounting brackets here, so we can use a 3-fan setup. So let's try that. We'll extract those. We won't use the low noise adapter, since that is not what we are aiming for, and a Y splitter we already have here, so we're good to go. Okay, so let's apply some thermal paste, and I will have a look. Okay, let's I usually remove the first bit of paste that comes out. It might be a bit dry sometimes. This was a new syringe, but just like that. Okay, and then let's apply some paste. So I'll put some in the middle. And just a few dots in the corners. Something like that. It should be plenty. and if there's too much it will squish out. So okay, and let's bring in the beast, and I shall zoom out, remove the cover, and looks pretty good. And then we have screws here that are attached, so we simply place it like this. Then I'll just move it about a bit to squish out the paste, something like that. And then we bring in the Noctua screwdriver, and first I go counterclockwise until I hear that click, and I go 1, 2, and then I do the same thing on the opposite side, counterclockwise, there, and then we'll go 1 and 2. And I'm switching which screw I'm screwing in back and forth to get a good mount, which isn't more tightly fastened in some direction than the other. And hopefully this should give good CPU contact. So this one's finished, and this one should also be pretty much, yeah, okay. So this one's on there now. And also a good thing is that the protective cover for the NH-D15 fits the single tower cooler it had, which is good for if I'm selling this and shipping it. Okay. So what remains now is we should mount the fans, and this is the middle fan that was supplied. It is the, let's see here, NF-A15, 1.56 watts, 0.13 amps, 12 volts. Okay, so I want the air to blow in this direction, so I have an intake fan here, chassis fan, Zalman fan, which blows air into the fan that will be sitting here, and then this middle fan should suck the air out of these fins and blow the air into this fin stack. So therefore I will orient the fan this way, and then the cable will be, the fan cable will be turned the right way around for the connector, for the fan connector. So it means I will mount it like this, perhaps. Okay, the GPU is a bit in the way, so I shall quickly just maybe I should unmount the GPU. So I can properly yeah, and also I want to mount this fan as low as possible, I think, and I will show you why in just a second here. So let me try this again. So yeah, it's properly seated now at the bottom of the cooler, and I have fastened the fan. So let me show you why I want the fan to be as low as possible. So one moment, I shall show you. So as you might see, we can see that the fan fins in there so the fan will blow air from underneath the fins of the cooler. And where will the air go? Well, the air will pass through these fins of the VRM heatsink. And that is what I'm looking for, because if let's say that this cooler will allow me to raise the voltage or so, then a bit more, then the VRM on this board isn't running the coolest, and it doesn't have the largest fin stack either. But getting that airflow over this heatsink and the fins of the VRM will significantly, or should significantly, lower the temperature of the VRMs. So I want the air to be passing here. Okay. So let's adjust the camera a bit. Something like that. Okay. And so where do I have my second fan, which was supplied? Let's open that one. And it should go so the fans will be spinning this way around, and the air will be blown out this way. And yeah, basically this fan will go as low as it will go, but in the end it's sitting on top of the RAM modules. And actually, yeah, the fan brackets, the extra ones that I thought were extra, they were actually for this fan, so we don't have a third set here. But let's start with this one and see what we can do. So I shall they should go on this way. Should they go like this? Yeah, maybe. So maybe like this. And NF-A15. I should get a third NF-A15 then if I want to mount a third fan of the same type. Okay, done. So let's inspect this from another angle. So we have this fan, which needs to be fastened a bit better perhaps. Blowing air right into this fan, which blows air through this fin stack tower, and then we have this fan blowing air through this fin stack. Or should I have placed this fan mounted to this tower actually? Let's inspect the manual. So the manual seems to show that I did the right thing. So the outer fan on this tower, the first one, and the second fan mounted to the second tower, blowing air through it. So that's good at least. So also, if I want the third fan on there, I only have from the previous cooler I only have the 120mm fans, and yeah, that doesn't really look the way I want. So let me check if I have some 140 fan. So unfortunately and unbelievably enough, I should say, I didn't find a 140 fan. So yeah, let's go until I get a third 140mm fan. Let's go with this Noctua 120mm one. I have the Cougar here fan, which is a bit higher spinning, but let's start with this one for the aesthetics. At least we get the same color, right? The difference shouldn't be huge. Until I get a third 140 fan. So okay. Actually, this one doesn't have any rubber grommets like these ones have, so might get a bit of vibration or something if we're unlucky. But okay, fine. So for now, great. So let's connect the fans and let's see if we can boot them. So I have one fan connector here. Let me just and then the second one here. Okay, so how about this third fan then? Well, I have let's move around here. So this fan connector goes to this small Noctua fan, blowing some air onto the SSD and HDD. So we can certainly split this, I believe, in two. So let's do that. So I've grabbed the splitter from the NH-D15, the extra one that I got there. So let's see if we can... I should have noticed this prior to installing the fans here, but it's okay. I think we got it. And can route the cables. So this is a 3-pin, but that should work fine. In theory, it should. Yes. And then the small Noctua fan that we have blowing air on the SSD. Something like that. And then we can just tuck them in there nicely. Okay. And now I have to get the GPU back in place. So currently we're still running the GTX 950 and pushing that one as far as it can go. I think we're pretty much okay. So yeah, actually I'm seeing here that this fan mount thing is dangerously close to the backside of the GPU, and I don't want it to short anything out back there. So the question is, yeah, maybe I should do something about that actually. Maybe I'll just move this fan up a bit for now. Hopefully that's high enough. Yeah, so we can see that if I reseat the card, now we have clearance, so this fan bracket is not beneath the top line of the graphics card's backplate. And since this graphics card doesn't have a real backplate, but you have components directly there, I don't want to short anything out. The other fan mounts down there, they're pretty far away, so they shouldn't interfere with the GPU. And yeah, as far as the fan mount goes, well, it's still on there. It should move some air, so through the fin stack. Alright, I think we have done it. So let's just give me a moment, and I shall clean my workbench off here a bit, and then we will start up the system together and see if it works. But before we do that, let's just weigh in the previous cooler. 570 grams without fans. Yeah, and now we're almost at a kilo. So, and this is 1 pound 4.1 ounces, and we were at over 2 pounds on the NH-D15. Just as a side note. So let's try to boot the system with my power button here. I have turned on the relay on the power supply, so let's go. Fans are spinning, which is usually a good sign. But hang on a minute, I believe I forgot to plug the HDMI cable back in on the GPU, so let's see if we can do that on the fly. And voila, we have an image. So let me just log in. So at least we have booted. Let's open hardware info 64. So all settings are still the same so far. We haven't entered BIOS yet, and currently we are at 50 degrees or so, 48.8. So I shall start a full CPU load, and we will see where we end up. So one thing to notice then, does this work with the air flow from beneath the cooler? Yeah, I can feel a lot of air actually, and so far these heat sinks are perfectly cool, but of course they are cool because we haven't got a load on the system yet, so I will change that. So I have applied 100% load, and This has been running for a couple of minutes, and yeah, I don't know, 90 degrees, 91. So of course we are heavily overclocked, and we were at 95, 96, but now also the ambient temperature has fallen a bit since last time. We're at 24.9, 25 degrees instead of 28.9 or something, 28.6. So yeah, we're at 91 degrees. So not a huge difference there, actually, but yeah. However, I wonder if the numbers are correct as well, because the description says that it might not represent the true temperature in degrees. T-control is also just an arbitrary value. CPU value here says 42 degrees, but this can be an internal, external. So yeah, I'm wondering actually. I know that these CPUs measured temperature differently, so I would need AMD Ryzen Master perhaps, but I don't know if they supply the old versions that could show the temperature correctly for these CPUs, but I will have a look. So unfortunately, the AMD Overdrive, I found an old version, but as soon as I launched it, it just rebooted my system. It was consistently doing that. So that was not an option really then. Unfortunately, because it should have displayed the temperatures correctly, I think. So let me, yeah, I instead downloaded ADA64. The trial version, portable. So let's try that and see what it shows. So okay, let's see here. Sensor maybe. Okay, so ADA64 is showing some interesting numbers, but it's showing 31 degrees for the CPU. CPU diode is clearly off. We can't have 9 or 13 degrees Celsius when we have an ambient of 23.4 at the moment. But 30 degrees when idle seems more reasonable. So for instance, yeah, the CPU usage is a few percent, so we're basically idling, and 30 degrees seems more accurate. let's start the hardware info as well. What does it show? It shows 70 degrees on the CPU package, or 60. I find it 65. I find it a bit unbelievable actually that an idle temperature of a CPU would be that high, especially with a cooler like that, which moves quite a lot of air as well. So I don't think that this figure is correct actually. And this T control of 5.8, well, we're seeing in Ada between 8 and 15 degrees, and this one jumps around a bit, but I don't see the 57 or 64 in Ada at all. So yeah, especially since if we are 28 watts, we shouldn't be that much higher than ambient. And I believe we have a good mount. It felt good. So of course we have a CPU temperature here of 30, which corresponds to this CPU of 30. So maybe that's it. Let's start stability testing in Ada. So we can skip memory, but we can stress CPU, FPU and cache perhaps, and inspect the values. So we are increasing. I can uncheck the Samsung drive. And the motherboard as well. So now we only have the CPU value. And now we're up to, let's see here, 38. And hardware info reports 81.5, 82, but a CPU of 39, which corresponds to this 39. So I'm wondering which one is correct. And the T control is 31. So yeah, very interesting. But I would assume that, I mean, 39, is that reasonable for a full load scenario? Overclocked, it seems a bit low, maybe, even on a dual tower cooler. On the other hand, the idling temperatures of 65 or something, 58 to 65 that we got, I mean, that's also pretty unreasonable, if you ask me. So 40 degrees, I wonder. Yeah. So what value of the CPU did we have? CPU temperature in hardware info did we have on the 100% load before changing the cooler. Let's perhaps check that. Yeah, so I checked in the beginning of the video, and this CPU temperature value was up to 46 on the single tower cooler. And that seems more reasonable then, that we got a decrease in about 6 degrees Celsius at least on the CPU, but going to the dual tower cooler in the same full load scenario. So yeah, but okay, so this is now what the test bench setup looks like, and it looks pretty sick actually. And yeah, the third fan is pretty special, but yeah, I seem to have gained a few degrees of cooling power, which is good. So in the next video, perhaps in the next part of the GTX 950 overclocking, we'll see if we can somehow push the CPU a bit more, maybe. Yeah. So thank you so much for watching this video on upgrading the CPU cooler to an NH-D15 on the test bench. Thank you so much for watching again, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye bye.